Thank you everyone for joining us today. Today is Monday, March 28th, 11 a.m. We are here with Kimberly to do posture alignment. Go ahead, Kim.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for the beautiful introduction to Tomi. We're in Levittown Library, beautiful, sunny, cold day. And I'm not in the library, but you guys are meeting me via the library. So today we are going to use a couple of things, one block, one strap, and certainly a chair or an ottoman. This is about 26 to 24 inches in height. Chairs work. Side of the bed doesn't, because beds are pretty big nowadays. But when you do use your strap, you want to make sure this is an actual belt. Maybe it's made out of leather. Those are the best because they have a lot of resistance. We don't want this strap to give at all. So those PT rubber bands, no, don't use those. Grab yourself a strap or a rope. If you're a boater, take a line off of your boat, grab that. Other thing we're using is our block or a pillow. If you have a pillow off your bed, fold it in half because we want, again, a lot of resistance so I can't crush that thing. We're going to start out in a standing position, and I'm going to keep yapping at you. Anybody who's brand new to any of this type of corrective exercise, that's what we're doing, is corrective exercise. If something hurts or bothers you, it doesn't feel right, just skip it. I'll give you as many modifications as I could think of. But for now, I'm going to have you guys stand either against the wall or against the door. If you don't have a door or a wall, you can just stand in the middle of the room. We're going to go pigeon-toed against wall. And this is where we're going to start. I'm going to hang out here for maybe 4 minutes. I think we're going to go for 4 minutes this morning. This is a good vertical version of the first move. Sometimes we do our static back. It's not quite the same, but this is another harder version that's also going to realign your pelvis and your shoulders via the position of your hips. And what we're going after when we usually do our first moves is to inhibit any pain that you're already feeling, which kind of can be something that I have to apply on a personal level. So we're going to throw that out the window when we're taking class together. So first thing, mitigate pain. I have to throw that out the window. We want to reduce rotation. So if anybody shows up, which most of us are, showing up in some rotated fashion, our shoulder comes forward or one hip comes forward, we want to reduce that as much as possible before we start working on the individual muscles themselves and the groups themselves. I'm still standing here pigeon-toed. I want you guys to double check that your knees aren't bending. So if my knee had a little bit of bend in it, my knees would bonk into each other. If you keep your knees straight, it's going to force all of this leverage into the pelvis. Therefore, it will start to go up into your spine and then into your head and adjust the position of your head. This is not a comfortable position to be in. It should feel pretty awkward for a lot of you. And depending on if you're new to this or not, you're going to pigeon toe a little bit stronger with a greater, more obtuse angle or more of an acute angle if it's really difficult for you to do. But either way, I want you to touch your big toes together. You don't have to decrease that angle where your toes meet, but you do have to have the toes touching. So even if they're almost parallel to your eyes and you can't get them to go anymore, that's fine. But we do want to try and get the big toes to touch. About a minute and a half more. Also, sometimes people who I visited with, because we've been thrown into shoes our whole lives, our toes have the tendency to start taking the form of our shoes. Very few people, with the exception of me, has shoes that actually help your toes and your feet form naturally, which would be wider at the toes than it is at the ball of the foot. Usually it crams the toes, so the ball of the foot is the widest part, and then the toes go in. So if that happens to you and your toes start taking on that pattern, your big toe is going to start turning in. It's going to be really difficult to touch your big toes in this move. That's okay. Just touch what you can. We want them to be even. But I have seen some toes where they start to curve towards the pinky toe side due to the pressure of shoes we've been sticking them in. So we got to get a little bit creative. If you've got a different style or shaped foot or even shaped body, you got to adjust for that. This is one of my favorite moves because it really can be done anywhere. When I used to visit at Starbucks before I'd go see clients or go teach classes, I would do this standing on line. I would just stand on line and wait and stand pigeon toed, or stand and do gluteal contractions, which we're going to do next. Always time for some corrective exercise so that we can interrupt the pattern we've been giving our bodies over the years or decades and start to give it a pattern that it can rearrange itself to and correct itself to. Come on out, everybody. You're going to feel a little bit weird walking around. I certainly do after that one. Just looking down some of the harder exercises I could be giving you. See if I'm going to beat the crud out of you today, but I think we're just going to save that for later. So like I said, we're going to do gluteal contractions, but this time we're going to do them in line. So I want your feet to be tandem as if you're on a tightrope. If that's too difficult for you, then you're just going to keep your feet hip distance and take one foot, step it in front of the other. Perfectly fine. But you can also hold on to something when you do this move. So if you feel really off balance while you're doing this, just stand next to the wall and just use the wall to hang on to every now and then if you feel a little tipsy. So I'm going to put my right foot in front of my left. I'm going to touch my heel to my toe. Now I'm going to distribute my weight between my front and my back foot. And I'm going to go for the glute squeezes. So I'm squeezing my butt cheeks together, both of them, over and over and over again. This might feel off. And one of you actually wrote me an email about this last week or the week before then. One butt cheek is going to feel different than the other. And if it doesn't, when you're standing with your feet side by side, this is probably going to make it feel even more so, because we're trying to separate that. There's definitely a separation going on in the pelvis. And when that happens, the glutes start to feel it and they go, So we're asking them to figure out how to recruit themselves at the same time while we give it this new stimulation. If that makes any sense at all. It's like patting your head and rubbing your stomach. It's weird at first, it's awkward. You can do it, but your body just has to get this new pattern that you're giving it. And then it goes, oh yeah, I got it. And that's what we're doing. We're giving the body new patterns so that it can remember. Switch. My left foot's in front, touch heel to toe. That's going to make it a lot more challenging, of course. Distribute your weight and go for your squeezes. It's repetitive, over and over again. Just your butt cheeks. I just caught myself leaning really heavy into my back foot. I had to shift my weight forward a little bit. Make sure as you're doing this, you're not shifted all the way back on your foot. Distribute it evenly. That's going to make a lot of difference to which muscles you recruit or not. And this silly move is called inline gluteal contractions. And as silly as it does feel, switch again. It's kind of an easy move to do. It kind of makes me feel like I'm, like, no offense, it's like, oh, it's such a simple move. It's almost like old lady moves. You know, geez, where's the tough stuff? But there's a lot of athletes that can't do this. I have to give them this move in order to keep them on track. So when they're running down the field and they're doing whatever sport it is that they do, this simple move is sometimes everything that they need in order to get the body to remember. So it might seem like, wow, this is easy, it's no big deal. It really makes a big difference. It really makes a big difference. But that being said, we also need the tough stuff. We need the tough stuff. So sometimes I spend a lot of time doing just the nice, easy therapy, inline gluteal contractions, hook line knee pillow squeezes, and then I hammer you guys hard sometimes because we need it. Switch again. Okay. So now we've gone through at least twice on each side, twice and a half now, on each side. Hopefully, as you're doing this, you're feeling some change happen. It's one thing we're always looking for with this style of corrective exercise. The way that I teach it is really keeping the body and the body's wisdom as our teacher and as our guide. When you start noticing, something's changing, something's different, good. That's your body going, all right, I got this. You can usually give it a few more reps and then move on. Sometimes it might take 20 minutes of this in order to get the change. One more switch again. Oh, this one feels good. It's so simple. I just want to do it over and over and over. A lot of times I lose track of where the heck I am. Planet Earth, I think I got that. Okay. Over and over, gluteal contractions. That's all we're doing. Now there's different versions of the standing forward bend. I've given them to you over the years. We're just going to do something that's a little bit more akin to a hang today. So you don't have to worry about adding this extra effort that we usually do in the standing forward bend. I'm going to give you a different one. We're going to do a little bit more of a hang. I'm definitely just going to move my camera a little bit further back, everybody, because I see I'm getting out of the shot a little bit. All right. So usually with standing forward bend, I want you guys to pay attention to when you bend over, your hips go way back past your heels. That's okay this time. So we're just going to do a little bit more like a hang. But I do want your feet to be straight ahead. We're going to hold this one for 1 minute. Your knees are going to be straight. We're not going to do the whole, just keep a hair bend in the knees. We're going to keep the knees straight. And if you need some help, you can certainly put your hands on top of a chair. But we're going to do the hang for 1 minute. Feet are straight ahead, just hang. Do the best you can. If you can't last a minute, don't last a minute. If you need to put your hands on top of something in front of you, that's okay. If you need something like this because it's too much, all right, go for it. Good. Come on out. I'm going to move on to the static extension position. This one might not make you guys too happy if you've got wrist problems. So if that's bothering you today, you can modify it by going onto your fists, keeping the wrists nice and straight. You can do a forearm stretch at the wall too. So forearm stretch, similar. You stand at the wall, put your hands on the wall, and lean in, let your shoulders come back and down. Rest of us are going to go onto the floor and do this hands and knees. So the point of this move is to actually get your shoulders to trap themselves back and down. So if you're okay coming onto your hands and knees with me, I'm going to move the hands 6 inches forward. I start out with my hands under shoulders and knees under hips. That's a toughie. They're also a hips distance, so I can fit at least my fist in between my knees, everybody. I'm going to walk my hand forward, put my palm where my fingertips are. It's just 6 inches. In fact, it's okay if you do even 4 inches. I'm going to put my shoulders back over my wrists. So it's only a little slip forward. That's all. Now drop in. Think like a sway back horse. And we're going to hang out here for 1 minute. We'll see if we could do 2. Elbows are straight. If your elbows start bending, that's usually a shoulder saying, I don't want to do the work. So if that's happening to you, here's a Band-Aid. Stance your hands wider from each other, and then keep your elbows straight. The other thing too is people like me and one of the other students that I know on here, I won't mention her name, we have a tendency for our mid-back to fold like a suitcase. Just because I say think like a swayback horse doesn't mean I want you to really accentuate that fold in the middle of our back. Just kind of want you to hang there. Think more along the lines of letting the shoulders trap themselves back and down rather than letting that whole mid part of your back come towards the floor. Don't accentuate that. And if this is really bothering you that much, you can lay on the floor and do a static back or get yourself in another position. So your body is going to tell you, yes, this is okay today. One more minute if you could stand it, everybody. Yes, this is okay today for my body, or no, I can't quite do this. Your body will tell you. Many times with a deviation like that in your posture, it's a hip flexor that's either stuck or not working properly. So then the mid back starts to take over for the lack of flexibility, let's say, in the hips and the pelvis. So that's all stuck. And so we have to move up or down. Usually it goes up. We get lower back issues or mid back issues for people whose hip flexors are stuck. This is not a plank. So if this feels really, really hard for you to do and hold because you feel like your belly is giving out, it feels like, whoa, it's an abdominal exercise, you're probably have your hands way too far away from your knees. What we're going after here is hip flexor. That's why I moved the hips forward of the knees. It's really what we're going after there. Okay, come out, everybody. I'm going to take into cats and dogs, but I'm going to do it sitting in the chair. If you want, you can do it on hands and knees. I'm going to do it in the chair. So either you're on your hands and knees doing cats and dogs, or you're sitting in a chair doing cats and dogs, but you're going to drive this from the area of your hip. Your pelvis goes into anterior tilt and posterior tilt, back and forth. Your shoulders follow as the spine follows. And then your head finishes the movement. Back and forth. Beautiful. I get to see everybody doing their cats and dogs. You look great. I'm going to take you down for downward facing dog. If you hate coming on the hands and knees, I'm going to show you a downward dog against the wall. It's a wall stretch. So I put my hands up the wall. I'll show you it from the back angle too. And I walk away from the wall, let my chest drop. From the back, it looks like this. If this bothers your shoulders at all, you can stance your hands out wider, most definitely. But I'm going to take downward facing dog for 1 minute on the floor. So that was just your modification of downward dog. Everybody else, hands and knees, tuck your toes, lift your butt. Believe it or not, in yoga, this is a resting pose. One of the reasons why it's a resting pose is because it takes a lot of the pressure off of the lungs. The lungs are really free to breathe. They are on your back body. We are elongated and our head is going down. This is an inversion. Remember when we were working on handstands and donkey kicks? This is an inversion. Our butt is higher than the heart. So this actually gives you space to breathe. Yes, it might be hard. Well, welcome to muscles that have weakened over time, but this should allow for really easy breathing. That was 1 minute. You made it. Come on out, everybody. We're going to take it down to the floor. Bring your strap and your block with you. Some of you already know that you have a posture that loves to deviate towards the flat lower back. So the pelvis tucks under. It's what I would call your position C. You got the C shaped curve in your body. If you've got that and you've been working with a roll or a towel to put underneath your lower back and neck, now's the time to grab it. If not, don't worry about it. This is only for people who've been with me for a while and they understand and they know, my body feels real good when I do this. I love it. Haven't done it before? You can test it out. You can try it. Just roll up a towel. This roll that I have, it's pretty squishy. It's not too intense. It's about maybe 4 inches. So I could take a hand towel, roll it up, and put it underneath my lower back. You also usually put one underneath your neck too, but that really bothers me. So I just put it underneath my lower back. I used to be an anterior tilt, and now I'm a posterior, heading towards posterior, more on one side than the other. So I have to change my exercises a few years ago. I'm going to put the block or the pillow in between your knees. If you don't like being on the floor, you can do this sitting in a chair. So just sit in your chair normally, put your pillow between your knees, and start squeezing. This is hook lying knee pillow squeezes, really easy. You can do this in so many positions. You could have your legs up in static back. You can have your feet on the wall in this really, really deep hip flex position and do your squeezes there. You could do this standing. It's totally awkward there, but you can do it there. In the hook lying position, I'd like you to pay attention to the position of your feet. You want them to stay parallel. It's only for your newbies. I'm just kind of covering all my bases. I hope you guys have been doing this long enough so that when you do the squeezes, at least maybe within the first 10, you start feeling that isolated sensation in the groin on both legs. If you don't, that's a sign that, those aren't the muscles that are doing the work. I'm compensating somehow. And if that's happening, it's okay. I'm going to give you enough time so that the body will start to wake up and pattern itself appropriately. Over and over. I'm not giving 100%, or actually, that's a lie because I am squeezing like a mofo right now. So you want to dial it back to about 50% of your effort. We don't want to kill this. Actually, let me check. Okay. All right. I was doing like 75% of my effort. So Kim's going to dial it back here, and she's going to do 50% of her effort. The harder you try, the more compensatory muscle patterns start to occur. They start to occur, even on me, which means my thighs start doing the work. Meanwhile, my groin should be. So just dial it back. Fantastic. I'm going to take you through a little bit of a shoulder routine now. I'm going to take the body into a frog position. You can do frog position with the roll underneath your lower back. That's cool. So if you've already got one and you know that works for you, your pelvis should tip forward into the anterior tilt when we externally rotate the femurs. So you can leave that roll there. It's no problem. If you're sitting down in a chair, you can still do frog position. Just put your feet up on another chair in front of you. I'm going to go through some pullovers, everybody. So reach your hands up to the sky. Palms touch. Elbows straight. Interlace the fingers. Drop back. And come over your chest. Back and forth. Elbows stay straight, my friends. So I think I'm going to take you through pullovers. We might do reverse presses, but I'd like to get you into arm glides. Now, arm glides are going to look really ugly on me. I should not be doing arm glides at this point because my shoulder is it's messed up and the arm cannot hit the floor anymore. It looks like a mess. It's a mess. So when that happens, I really can't do the arm glides appropriately. So I will show you how to do them with my other arm. But if your arm does what my arm does and it doesn't hit the floor, the arm glides are not really going to help you too much. You're going to be doing another exercise that I'll just keep you in. I think we're going to do goalposts after this, and then we'll do arm glides. We'll do pullovers, goalposts, then arm glides. I'm going to have you guys get into the arm glide position, though, and just test yourselves so you can see what changed or what didn't. A few more of these pullovers. The arm glide position is just like making goalposts with your arms, except it's a goalpost that fell down. So if you kick the goalpost over, it falls down. In yoga, sometimes they call it cactus position. So the backs of your hands will be touching the floor. And if you're uncomfortable staying in the frog position while we do this, you can come back to hook lying or come to the static back position. So pretend I'm laying on the floor. This is the position I want your arms to be in. So this is our arm glide position. On the arm glides, look like this. So I keep the 90-degree bend in the elbows, and I'm kind of gliding along the floor. So that's what it's going to look like. So now I'm going to lay down. I want you guys just to test, just see, where do my arms show up? See, on my left arm, it's it's hanging out. It will not hit the floor. When it does, I have to twist through my back to get it there, but my right arm is laying on the floor. So just test it and see, where am I at? Now we're going to go through goalposts. So goalposts involves rotation. We're going to rotate through the shoulders. The move looks like this. So I'm laying on the floor. I rotate. I rotate. So I'm going the backs of my hands to the floor and the palms of my hands to the floor. Again, I'm laying on the floor. I keep my palms open and I try not to bend through my wrists, because once you bend through the wrists, you start to lose that baseline test of how close am I to the floor. So I'm just rotating through my shoulders, moving my forearms to the floor, to the air, to the floor, back and forth. You can do this sitting in a chair with your elbows against the wall. You could do this sitting on the floor with your elbows against the wall. You don't have to be laying on the floor. This is hard to do without something against your back in order to keep you straight and keep you from twisting. But this move is called goalposts. I hope you feel, as we're rotating and the palms come to the floor, that both of your shoulder joints, called the glenohumeral joint, starts to pitch up towards the ceiling. Do you feel that? That's because both of your shoulder blades on your back are winging off of your back. And when that happens, it pitches the joint forward. That's what we want. You might notice one side's doing it and the other side isn't. Maybe. Just notice any differences. Don't beat yourself up about them. That's my job. I'll beat you up about your differences and all your problems. You don't have to do it. You know, we are our harshest critics, aren't we? We are our own harshest critics. Back and forth, everybody. So this is kind of a stuck drawer theory that I'm giving our bodies here. When you get a roll of socks stuck in the drawer and you can't pull it open, sometimes you have to close it all the way just so you can open it all the way. And the same thing happens in the body. We have to take it in the complete opposite direction in order for it to unlock and us to get it in the direction that it won't go. Okay, arm glides now. So if you do have the ability for your arms to hit the floor and your wrists are laying on the floor here, then we're going to go through the glides. Again, they look like this. So pretend I'm laying on the floor. You make a diamond shape overhead and come back. It's such a short movement. What is it, like 10 inches? I'm doing this, laying on the floor, whether you're in frog position, hook lying position, static back position. Like I said, you can even do this in the sitting floor position with your back against the wall. Sure, this is all I'm doing. Back and forth, arm glides. But if your arm is hanging out and it's not touching the floor at all, we're going to do reverse presses. So I'm just going to bring my arms to the goalpost position and start squeezing my shoulder blades towards each other over and over again. So that's an option. Whether you're doing arm glides or reverse presses, we're just keeping it a repetitive motion over and over and over again. I notice in my body, I'm going to start trapping my body against the wall to do this, because my lower back is now taking over for my reverse presses, and that's not a good thing. to roll out from underneath me. I'm just guiding you guys by telling you what I experience in my body. Maybe you're experiencing the same thing. And I'm just thinking out loud so you could see my thought process. I'm feeling what muscles should be doing the work and which ones aren't. This should be, if you're doing reverse presses, quite a focused feeling right between your shoulder blades. Yeah, I'm all messed up. So if your shoulder will not go through that range of motion, your body is going to incorporate other muscles down your back, and it's gonna cause pain down the road if we don't keep on top of it. Those muscles should not be doing work for the shoulder. Shoulder should be doing its work. So that may give us problems down the road. Just something to be aware of. Okay, we're gonna come back to our pullovers. Try to go in the same position that you were to begin with so that you can have a even baseline comparing apples to apples. Just do a few and you might notice something changed or something feels different. Thank goodness, it feels a little easier. Actually hitting the floor without cheating every other time, it's okay. Okay, cool, I'll take it. I'll take it. How about some upper spinal floor twists? I love it. So we're going to really hammer this home, get the shoulder blade to remember that it belongs back and down. We're going to get a little bit deeper. So you're going to lay completely on your side. I'm going to go left side first, and I'm going to move my right arm. If you cannot get on the floor with me today, you're going to sit in your chair, and you're just going to twist your upper body in one direction for 1 minute. I'm going to keep my knees in place. I keep everything glued, knees stacked, ankles stacked, hips stacked, all in this vertical stack. Hold it there. That doesn't move. Top arm opens like a big book, stays in the same line as my shoulders. More than likely, you are not going to hit the floor right off the bat with your arm. If you do, I usually assume that you're cheating. So don't let your legs slide. Don't let them slip. This is a good move. Diaphragmatic breathing, good cue here. Think like you're breathing into the bottom part of your ribs on your back. Breathe into that space like you're pushing that part of your skin out. You can actively breathe and also actively relax into the floor. Relax every breath out. You kind of let go and you let your arm and shoulder and back twist an inch more, an inch more. You can certainly do that. Other side. Or if you wanted to spend 3 minutes hanging out there, you can do that too. Stack your knees, your ankles. This is my ugly side. Okay, friends, come on out. I'm going to take you into, let's do hip crossover stretch is easy. We just did a twisty one. Let's do hip lift. Hip lift. I am not going to assist you with this one, so we're not going to put it on the wall to assist. If this is too tough for you to do, then you're just going to keep your feet on the floor. You don't have to lift them off the floor. Hook lying position. No need for a roll because this is going to be a hard exercise. I'm going to cross my left ankle to my right knee. Now that might be hard enough for some of you to do. If it is, just hang out here and keep working on the stretch that you feel in your left hip. If you're ready for more, You're going to pull your right knee towards your chest. So here I make my right leg look like a 90-degree angle. So right knee pulls in, same time my left knee draws away, and I'm not using my hands to touch a darn thing. This gets done through the hips, through the abs. You're going to feel it through your back because the hip flexor is working, and that's where it starts. It pulls through that one side. There's a contraction going on. Try to stay at 90-degree angles. So pick up your head, make sure your heel isn't by your crotch. Give yourself as much effort as you can do by hanging on for 35 more seconds. So keep that in mind. Accept the challenge, breathe, and go for it. If you can't, go ahead and put your foot back down on the floor. It's okay. Can't last a minute, just do 2 seconds. Can you do this sitting in a chair? Absolutely, you can do this sitting in a chair. It's way harder, but you can do it. One of my clients who's in a wheelchair, she amazes me by doing this. She's in a wheelchair, but she's strong enough to do this. Some days she's worse than others, but she does it. Switch, other side. So I start again, nice and clean, feet parallel. Right ankle to left knee. Pull my left knee in. Here's the push-pull. So you're applying your own resistance. Right knee pulls in. Left knee draws away. Sorry, I did that wrong. Left knee pulls in. Right knee draws away. You want to keep your torso and your pelvis in pretty much the same position as you did when you started with your feet on the floor. So you don't want a whole lot of contorting of the body to get this done. This should be primarily hip action and hip work, not a whole lot of back work to twist and get it done. If you notice you're twisting an awful lot, your hips are probably stuck and tight, so your back has to take over, right? Good. Put it back down on the floor. I want you to go through 10 pelvic tilts, and you're going to grab your strap. Keep that nearby. Pelvic tilts. Same idea as our cats and dogs, just like when you were sitting on the chair. If you are still sitting on a chair, just do cats and dogs. But I'm on the floor, so I'm rocking my pelvis back and forth, anterior, posterior, back and forth, back and forth. Now, you're going to take your strap and you're going to put it around your knees. Don't follow me literally when I say that I have caught some people keep their feet on the floor and then just put the strap over their knees like it was a little hat. We want to press the legs out using the strap as resistance. So you have to slip your feet into the loop that you create with your strap or your rope. You can do this sitting in a chair, but I'm doing it in the hook lying position. Take my roll too. Okay. Press on the strap repetitively. Yes, repetitively. Repeat. Press, repeat. Over and over. Rule of thumb is always keep the legs hip distance. Keep the ankles hip distance. Keep your knees hip distance. Hip distance, hip distance. We are going to do our 60-second cardio blast for our workout today. Go ahead, let that scare you. You know what? I'm not going to baby you guys. So if that scares you, good. Let it scare you. I'll give you as many modifications as I can, but you can do it. You can certainly do it. Cardio blast. Think of it like an espresso shot. Can I get a blast of espresso? That sounds great, right? Not scared of that. It'll be okay. You don't need any tools for it, nothing special. You're going to take it to your own level And the main focus is to have fun. Even if you stop moving and just breathe and, oh, I feel good. Let me watch Kim do this. If Kim does it, it's the same as me working out. I'll take that. As long as you're having fun, you get a little smile on your face, see the sun, breathe the fresh air. Well, I don't know how fresh the air is in your houses. Open a window. Okay, I am going to take this strap off. Hopefully, in those repetitive presses, you started to feel something, at least on the outside of your hips. I hope in the butt somewhere. But if it didn't happen, it's okay. It's all right. We're all messed up. We're all messed up in some way. So, our 60-second cardio blast, I'm going to pick from a bunch of moves, and we're just going to do them for 60 seconds each. That's it. They're really simple. We're going to start out with jumping rope. You don't need a jump rope. And remember, from school, you could even walk with your jump rope. Look, there's nothing to trip over. So if you want to just march in place and pretend you have a jump rope, that's cool. You want to go nuts and do side-to-side hopping or high knees, that's up to you. I'm going to give you 60 seconds. We're going to do jump rope. Your choice. So again, you can have a lazy jump rope. Maybe you could swing it side to side. That was my favorite. I'd get tangled up every few, but nothing to tangle in here. It's imaginary. Hop. One leg, another. Get creative. Butt kicks. I'm just throwing things out there that you might want to do. That's all. Again, you don't have to jump. Maybe you're walking rope. Good. 60 seconds. Done. I'm going to take you into star plank toe touches. These are tough. They're tough, but you can make it easier. I can modify it for you. You could take it to the wall. So we're going to take it into a plank position, and we're going to try and touch the toes. So here's what it's going to look like from plank, touch, touch. But you can do it on a wall, just like I showed you. Even do it in the middle of the room, like I just did. So you can try and plank here, shoulders back and down, touch. I don't care what you touch. I don't care if you touch nothing and get here. That's okay. We're going to do it for 1 minute, except I'm doing it on the floor in a full plank. Your choice, whatever you want to do. It'll be just fine. I ask you plank, toe touches. That's all. Remember, the goal is have fun. Have fun. Ooh, left shoulder's feeling weak. That's okay. It's not going to give out though. So I'm going to keep going. You guys are watching me. It's like throwing yourself into a half-ass side plank. Relax. Minute is done. Oh, I wish I brought water with me. Oh, well. Okay. Interlace your hands behind your head. We're going to walk around a little bit. Elbows back, nice and strong. If that bothers you, you can put your hands on your shoulders and draw them back and down. We're going to do stork walk. So you're going to lift your knee towards your chest, nice and strongly. Walk around the room. Don't forget, walk backwards too. Make sure there's nothing behind you. But you want to go back as well. It's a strong yank from the hip flexor in the front. So I'm really pulling the knee up. It's less of a butt kick and more of a pull of the knee joint straight up to the sky. Fantastic. And take it nice and wide. I'm going to take you through, let's do the triangle last time. Let's do the one with the kneeling, not kneeling, with a bent knee. So I'm going to stand with my feet nice and wide. If you don't have a flat wall that you can actually lean against, don't worry about it. Just pretend that there's one behind you. I'm going to point my left toes towards the left. So my feet are perpendicular. Right one's pointing to the center of the room. Left one's pointing to the left. I'm going to bend through that knee. So this is a side extension, which is what we're going to do with our torso. But before we do that, I want you to really feel and think everything against your imaginary wall, even the knee you just bent against the imaginary wall, your butt cheek against the imaginary wall. We're going to hold it for a minute. Arms out to a T, lean over to the side, no leaning on the knee. Hand stays away from knee. 1 minute. In yoga, sometimes you see this supported side angle. It's a little different than that. I really want your hips and your torso to wake up in conjunction with that, so elbow stays off the knee. If it is too much for you, take a breather or don't go so wide. You don't have to lean over so low either. Just think of everything against the wall, everything. Feeling really good? You can bend your top elbow, but again, everything against the wall. Knee, left knee, right butt cheek. Keep your knee tracking over your toes on the bent knee side. Come out, coming to the other side. Hope you're still with me. Again, you don't have to go as wide as I go. Make it as hard or as easy as you want. So I'm going pretty wide because I like the challenge. Now my left foot stays. Feet are parallel. I'm going to turn my right foot out. So my right toes turn out to the right. Left foot, toes point to the center. Bend through my right knee. So my knee's tracking right over my toes. Here we go. I'm sure you already feel your body trying to twist and aim towards that bent knee. Don't let it. Keep it towards the center of the room. Everything opens. Lean. I get to look down on my right knee, make sure that it's tracking right over my toes so the leg isn't dropping in towards the center of the room. I want it to track. And this is my ugly side on my left side here. So this side looks kind of yucky. I can't even bend the elbow. So then the hand comes to the center of the room. So I'm just going to leave it here and keep breathing. Yes, there's a lot of weight over this right hip. We're loading the right hip. Because we hang out here for 60 seconds, it starts to force the body to avoid some sort of compensation and find ways to recruit the right muscles as it's designed. Usually takes a minute though. It's a strong move, but I know you can do it. Come on out, minute's done. Our last move is going to be, you know what, maybe second to last move is going to be our air bench. So you can take this move either against the wall, recommended, or against a door. If you use a door, make sure you're not pushing on the integrity of the hinge or of the lock. You want to make sure the door is pushing into the wood on the wood frame, or else the door is going to slam open. That's happened. You don't want to do that. So I'm going to walk my legs out in front of me until my hips slide down. You can go the height of your knees, but if your knees start to hurt, just come higher than your knees, okay? I'm going to show you from the other angle. I'm going to hold this for 1 minute. My mat's sliding all over, so I'm just going to avoid using it. So here's our move. The feet come away further than your knees. This is not like when you see the CrossFitters doing it. They go 90 degrees, sometimes even less than 90 degrees. It's different in this style. What we want to do is push the lower back into the wall, and I want you to use your thigh muscles to do that. Lower back should be flat on the wall. Should be feeling both of your thigh muscles doing this work. They should be burning. 30 seconds more. Your knees should not be diving in or coming out. If that's happening, either use your mind to hold them in place or put a block in between them. We have time for 1 or 2 more moves. My pelvis has a tendency to start bailing forward. No harm in just doing some kneeling exercises, but you can do them sitting or you can skip them. So you can stand against the wall if you want to and just take a break, because we're going to do arm circles. So if that bothers you, and you know that bothers you already, you got shoulder problems, go ahead and stand against the wall. You'll stay there for a couple of minutes. I'm going to do my arm circles in the kneeling position. So this ties everything together for me, and for some of you too, whose hips have shut down and the pelvis wants to bail forward. So I'm going to take your hands into what's called often the modified golf position. Keep that position. Drop your arms at your sides, whether you're standing or sitting in a chair or kneeling like me, this can be done. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Bring your arms out to a T. Circle up and forward, but you have to keep your belly relaxed. So really let it hang out. If you tighten your belly while you do this, it's going to stop the really deep muscles from turning on. Keep the six-pack out of it. Save that for the beach. I am going to circle backwards. I'm going to turn my palms up so my thumbs point behind me, up and back. And 38, 39, and 40. Wonderful. Guys, I hope you sweated it as much as I did. If you did, put it in a jar and send it to me, and I will test it. Don't laugh at that. I want your sweat. Make sure you guys are doing good. As long as you had fun and you were smiling, you did just fine. I hope you enjoyed it enough to welcome yourselves back to the Levittown Library next week, where I'll see you here, same time. Thanks, everybody.